This is Big Podcast.
There's this saying in advertising, you probably heard it. I know only half of my advertising works, but I don't know which half. Can you track stuff better than you used to? Yes. Yeah, you can. And we can work on that. But there's still an element in podcasting of, is what we're doing really working to get an audience? I think a lot of us have this fantasy of a Niagara Falls level flood of new listeners. Oh my gosh, I went from 1 listener to 10,000 listeners overnight because I just did this one thing. The reality is, it's more like a faucet or 10 or 20 little faucets, bringing a person here, a person there, and it's not overnight, it's over months or even years. That's more or less where most podcasters are. Are you there? Probably. We're going to talk more about it. It's Build a Big Podcast, a marketing podcast for podcasters. If you want to grow your podcast, get more people to your podcast, bring more money in via your podcast, or bring more money in via sponsorships for your podcast, this is the podcast for you. BigPodcast.com, that's the site. My name is David Hooper. This is the audio edition of my weekly newsletter that is called Big Podcast Insider. It goes out via email every Friday morning, New York City time. If you want to read it on the web, newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 237. Here's what we're going to cover. The quickest way to grow your podcast. Too hot for OnlyFans? Shure SM7B versus an Amazon microphone. An AI marketing tool for podcasters. Fake it till you make it. More, better, new. This episode of Build a Big Podcast is brought to you by Riverside.fm, a virtual studio that makes recording and editing at the highest quality possible accessible to anyone. You want to look and sound your best. Make the most of what you've got to work with. Riverside's going to let you do that. You're going to record your guests locally, bypassing poor or unstable internet connections and giving you studio quality audio and video. You're going to get instant transcriptions powered by AI with 99% accuracy. It's going to make your podcast more accessible to people and also more discoverable via search engine. Riverside's got some cool AI-powered tools to help you edit. A silence remover, all those awkward pauses, done via AI. Filler word removals, ahs, ums, remove via AI automatically. They got something called Magic Clips. This is what I love. AI-powered highlights. It's going to save you time in your promotion and marketing because it's going to go through your entire podcast, that long-form audio. Find the most interesting parts for social media. Clip them, get them to you. You post them on your social media. That's going to allow you to bring people from social media to your long-form podcast. Check it out. They're going to give you a couple of hours for free to look under the hood and kick the tires. Riverside.fm. That's where to go. Get you 2 hours for free. Do an interview. Do a couple of interviews. If you like it, you can stick around with this discount code, Big Podcast, BIGPODCAST. You'll be able to check out everything you need to record, edit, and market your podcast via Riverside.fm. Go there now. Get your free account. If you want to stick around with that discount code, it's Big Podcast, BIGPODCAST. That's Riverside.fm. The discount code, Big Podcast, for 15% off. I go from thing to thing to thing on here, all of them about podcasting. Sometimes, like a DJ mixing songs, you don't know when one ends and one begins. That is why I have this sound. That's how you know. If you want more information about what I was just talking about, you can go to newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 237. You ready? The quickest way to grow your podcast. First of all, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take some things off the table that we've got very little control over, if any control over. 1, viral video. 2, a public endorsement from a celebrity. I'm talking about somebody like Oprah Winfrey or Reese Witherspoon. They've got celebrity book clubs. Somebody having like a podcast club. Hey, listen to this podcast. No, probably not going to happen. We don't have control over it. Getting featured on Apple Podcasts homepage. Instant word of mouth buzz that snowballs overnight. Something like the Hawk Tuah girl. You know, that was Here Where I Am on Broadway in Nashville, Tennessee. A complete fluke. Everybody and his brother's out there trying to get content like that, make it go viral. More often than not, that is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And more often than that, it is a never-in-a-lifetime thing. Do not count on it. Let's work around it. Random discovery by a major media outlet or journalist. When I was in the music industry, we had this joke about you playing a gig in the middle of nowhere and some record executive's car breaks down right in front of that venue. He comes into the club because he needs a tow, needs to get his tire changed, whatever. He happens to hear you while waiting for the record, loves you, signs you, you do the record, it becomes a million seller. No, it's never happened. It's fun to think about, but it does not work like that. Again, we're going to try to work around that. Let's talk about what else doesn't work. An influencer mentioning your podcast unprompted. Even if it happens, How much influence do these influencers have? I talked about this on the last episode. It's an algorithm thing, man. Maybe it gets you in front of some people. Maybe it doesn't. Most people are there just because of the algorithm, and they're click, 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 going from one video to the next. Yeah, they're seeing these videos by these influencers, but how much influence do they actually have? Not as much as people would think. Next one, a podcast network offering you a deal out of nowhere. Doesn't happen. You got to do something to make that happen. Your niche becoming suddenly trendy or newsworthy. Maybe. I mean, I've certainly gotten media from something like Serial, for example, taking off. Everybody loves this podcast. They come to me to ask about podcasting. Maybe there's some opportunity there. Has it really blown up this podcast, though? No. That is probably not going to happen. A major algorithm change boosting your show. Maybe. But that sword cuts both ways. Change an algorithm, boom, you're back at the bottom of the charts. If you're there at all. Final one, a competitor quitting and handing over their audience. I've seen this once. Phish. You know the band Phish? Phish. Not like the animal, the band. Grateful Dead kind of disbanded. Jerry Garcia died. All the deadheads needed somewhere to go. Phish was in the right place, right time. They'd been at it for years, though. They were already doing okay. They picked up a lot of those dead people. It gave the dead people someplace to go. Maybe you're going to have an opportunity like that. Don't count on it. Let's talk about what we can control. If I had only one way to grow a podcast, I would pick live events. You bring people together over a certain cause or topic. You give them a way to keep that energy going via your podcast. Let's say your topic is dog grooming. You bring a bunch of dog groomers together. You bring a bunch of dog lovers who want better looking dogs or groomed dogs together. Hey, you want to keep this conversation going? Here's the podcast. That's how to do it. And here's why it works. It's not about your podcast. It's about the topic. It's about the connection, the community that you're bringing together. That's really all we've got as podcasters. It's not about us as hosts. It's not about our podcast. It's about the topic of our podcast and the people listening and their lives and these people connecting with other people who finally get them. Their wives, husbands, co-workers. Shut up about dog grooming. We don't care about dog grooming. We don't want anything to do with dog grooming. They find people who get them. Oh, man, I love dog grooming. Yeah, whoa, man, you're using this kind of brush? Oh, fantastic. I just got this one. Have you seen this new tool, the Furminator? Oh, it's amazing. You find people that get you, and that's powerful. It sounds simple, right? Yeah, it is simple. Is it easy? No. Here's what it is easy to do. It's easy to set up an event at a local coffee house or something similar. It's going to take a while to build momentum. That can be discouraging. You might go to that first event. You got 2 people. That's better than one. One person is awkward. With that said, if you do have one person at your first event, it's an opportunity for you to connect one-on-one with somebody. But you really want more people there. And it could be that handful of people, 5, 7 people, that's better than a big event because you can gather everybody around at the same table. They really get connected with each other. It's not awkward. Some people don't like events, especially these days where people aren't used to connecting with people like they used to. There's a lot of screen time, a lot of isolated time, people commuting in cars. They just don't see people. And when they do, those people might have headphones or their heads in screens. Because of that, fewer people, that can be more comfortable to some folks. So if you do a live event, you got 5 or 7 people, maybe that's more effective than 10 or 20 or 50. Simply because you're building the foundation, you got a little bit more control over these live events. If you're doing it right, it's not going to be 5 or 7 people for long. People tell other people, oh man, I had such a great time last night. I got together with these other dog groomers. You're not going to believe how great it was. You should come with me next time. You're building this thing up. Give it a minute. You might want to be the ride along, the sidecar with somebody who's got an already established audience. For example, if you're in the business space, that's what I would be doing. Build a big podcast, something connected to your business. I would go to something like an entrepreneur center, maybe a local college, business class, something like that. Live events, that will grow your podcast. It's going to grow your authority. Whether you've got a fan-oriented thing, something like collectibles, whether you've got a business how-to kind of thing, bring people together. People are lonely. They do not want to be there listening to a podcast by themselves. They want to listen to a podcast by themselves and then talk about it with other people who are just as enthusiastic as they are. You want more thoughts on this? You want me to help you brainstorm some things? Happy to do it. You can reach out to me via Blue Sky. I've got more thoughts. I've got that list that I mentioned earlier. Everything at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 237. Too hot for OnlyFans? Some people are. In all seriousness, what does your podcast have in common with OnlyFans? It's more than you'd think. And you're thinking, no, I've got a Christian podcast. We're trying to bring people to Jesus. Yes! You've got something in common with OnlyFans. Here's what it is. People don't want perfect. They want relatable. Fans gravitate toward creators who feel genuine, a bit imperfect, because they're imperfect, and who can share their personalities and quirks, because they also have quirks. Let's go back to OnlyFans for a second. The most successful creators on OnlyFans, they balance sex appeal with approachability and authenticity. That makes subscribers feel like they're in an actual relationship, not a parasocial one. People in the entertainment business, the music business, they've known this for a long time. Remember the Spice Girls? If you want to be my lover, that one. Baby Spice, look her up. The most popular member of the Spice Girls. Why? She was like the fans. She wasn't slick. She didn't have six-pack abs. She was just a girl, or woman, but they were the Spice Girls. Forgive me. Something the girls who were listening to them could relate to. Taylor Swift, the same way. One of the world's biggest pop stars. Is she the best singer? No. Is she a great dancer? No. Kind of awkward. But what she does is connect. What she does is let people know that they're okay. I can get up here, be a little awkward, be a little goofy, not be the best singer in the world. It's not so out of reach for you. You might be familiar with Pat Flynn. Has a popular podcast, a site called Smart Passive Income. And what Pat used to do, this is one of the things that I think really put him on the map. He was the first guy that I remember doing this, put his income online. I'm trying to do this. You're also trying to do this. We're in this together. Here's how much I'm making. And here's exactly, blow by blow, how I am doing it. The problem happened was when he started making so much money, I'm talking six figures a month, and people are like, well, no, I'm out. I'm nowhere near being able to do that. That is impossible for me. He went from relatable to unrelatable. So he pulled back on that, did some other things to be more relatable. Relatability is huge, huge. I've got 3 actionable steps to implement this strategy. It's more than I can go into on this audio, but I've got them writing. You can get them for free. Newsletter.bigpodcast.com, issue number 237. Shure SM7B versus an Amazon microphone. Can you tell the difference between a $400 microphone and a $30 microphone? I don't have a Shure SM7B, but I've got a comparable microphone, the Electro Voice RE20 that I'm speaking into. Or am I? Am I actually speaking into a $30 Amazon microphone right now? No. This is the RE20. I think it's about $450 right now. This guy made a video. It's a joke. It's actually pretty funny. You can see it. Newsletter.bigpodcast.com, issue number 237. The topic's serious, though. Does an expensive mic sound different than a cheap one? If you're going to go from a cheap headset, tin cans and a string, a phone, to something like the Samsung Q2U, it's about a $50 mic, that's going to make a huge difference in the way you sound and the way your podcast is received. But going from that $50 Samsung Q2U to anything in the $400 or $500 range, something like I'm speaking into, it doesn't make that much of a difference to most people. Maybe if you're an audio engineer, maybe as a podcaster, you're used to editing yourself, you can hear those little bitty quirks, those little bitty telltale signs of an inexpensive microphone. But most people, it's good enough. And I think sometimes good enough is just fine. I want you to be able to get your podcast out there. I don't want you to get caught up thinking you have to have a perfect setup. Get your message out there. The worst thing you can do is not have your message get out there. And again, people don't know. People don't know the difference between a $40, $50 microphone and a $400 microphone. Don't let that be the excuse for you not to release your podcast. Anyway, I got a funny video about it. It's probably 60 seconds. You can watch it. Newsletter.bigpodcast.com, issue number 237. An AI marketing tool for podcasters. Capsho. You've heard of Capsho. Turns your podcast audio into marketing assets. 30 plus written assets, things like catchy YouTube titles, which work for podcasts, social media posts, articles, compelling hooks, it creates those automatically, titles, creates those automatically. You can generate transcripts, chapter summaries that'll increase accessibility. It's on AppSumo now. You know AppSumo, a one-time fee for a lifetime of the product. $59 for life. You're protected by a 60-day money-back guarantee if you want to check it out. Everybody and his brother in the industry has been talking about CapShow, why they're on AppSumo. I don't know. You be the judge of that. All I know is it's an opportunity for you for $59 to get in for life. You can see the link, newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 237. Fake it till you make it? You've heard that, right? Fake it till you make it. It's an aphorism suggesting that by outwardly exhibiting confidence and competence, even if you don't fully feel it, you can gradually develop those qualities. You act as if you already possess the desired characteristics until you actually do. If you don't feel comfortable with your podcast or anything else you're doing, good. That's how we grow. But it's also true that some podcasters are full of hot air. I've got a joke about it. Which one of these are you? You can see it, newsletter.bigpodcast.com, issue number 237. And I've got a podcaster prayer for you, similar to the Serenity Prayer. You might want to put this on your bathroom mirror. Say it every morning. Grant me the confidence to fake it while I grow, the clarity to spot my own bullshit, and the wisdom not to believe my own hype. Amen. Newsletter.bigpodcast.com, issue number 237. More, better, new. I got this idea from Jay Klaus. If you want to see his original thoughts on the subject, I've got the article linked, newsletter.bigpodcast.com, issue number 237. I'm going to give you my own thoughts on this. More, better, and new. You remember Entrepreneurs on Fire? A lot of newer podcasters don't. But 10 or 12 years ago, this guy was the man, John Lee Dumas. Everybody and his brother was talking about Entrepreneurs on Fire for one reason. It was a daily podcast. Everybody else, maybe we were doing weekly, every other week, and people thought, daily, wow, that's unbelievable. I remember seeing John Lee Dumas at an event, New Media Expo, maybe, something out in Las Vegas. And the panel, there were about 4 or 5 people on the panel. And it said, between them, they have done 2,000 episodes. And John was up there laughing. Everybody's laughing because about 1,500 of those were him. One dude, 5 times the episodes that anybody else in the room had done. Daily podcast, and dozens, maybe even hundreds of people copied the idea. None of them made it to the level of Entrepreneurs on Fire. Entrepreneurs on Fire worked because it was more. Nobody thought it was possible to do a daily podcast as an independent. And it was new. We knew daily podcasts, maybe from the New York Times or maybe from NPR, a big newsroom, but nobody as a one-man show had been able to do it. So brand new. Was it better? That's subjective. Unless you look at the amount of money it brought in, and in that case, yeah, arguably was better. You're talking about one guy, doesn't have to split the money. He was working like crazy. I think he would do 10 episodes on a Monday, edit as he went. The whole thing was more or less scripted. He'd ask the same questions. Question 1, question 2, question 3. Everybody was already prepared. Not a whole lot of editing. It was more or less him reading and the guest reading. In fact, when I heard that podcast for the first time, I didn't think that John was actually recording it live. I thought what people were doing was recording themselves, then sending him the tape, and somebody would splice everything in. Splice him in, splice in the answer. By the way, a lot of radio programs do that. There was one with Dan Aykroyd for House of Blues, Elwood Blues. He would interview musicians and things. And what they would do is they would hire a guy like me, a music journalist, go out, have an interview with somebody like, I don't know, John Lee Hooker, let's say. And I would interview John Lee Hooker. They would remove the journalist, pipe in Dan Aykroyd, have him ask the questions that the journalist had asked. So that whole thing of piecing together performance, making it look like a live show, that wasn't uncommon. And I asked those guys, is John piping that in, like doing this stuff via editing? And she said, no, he's doing it live. A very unique thing, 10 episodes a day. Could you do it? Most people couldn't. That was one of the reasons those copies of Entrepreneurs on Fire didn't work out. Everybody thinks they can do it. Oh, this is easy. It's a lot of work. a lot of work. And he had tenacity, man. He was like a machine. I got the feeling the dude was up at 5 a.m., even though he didn't need to be. Go until he went to bed at 10 p.m., go to bed, wake up, do it again. I've got some steps you can take to apply these principles more, better, and new to your own podcast. More, we talked about this with John. You're going to do more than your competition or more than is expected. Frequency is one of those things. Again, I think John was one of those guys that was probably up at 5 a.m., in bed at 10 p.m. I remember when he started, he did a lot of videos, and I feel like maybe the bed was in the back or his living room was in the back. You didn't get the feeling the dude was in the studio. You got the feeling he was just sitting down, recording all day long. It was an unbelievable amount of volume. Let's talk about how you can do something that increases what you're doing, but maybe not at the level of an entrepreneur's on fire. You be strategic about it. For example, if you release weekly, maybe you want experience with 2 times a week, just do it for a month. See how it works for you. You can batch record. That makes it more sustainable. John was doing 10 a day. You know, you might want to set 1 day a month, record 2 or 3 at a time. I'm actually batch recording this right now. This is the second episode that I've done today. The previous episode of Build a Big Podcast, recorded on the same day, edited at different times though, and released at different times. You might want to add formats, short form bonus episodes. Let's say 5 to 10 minutes if you're doing 30 to 60 minutes normally. Something on off days like tips, insights, news. If you're doing something like this, like a monologue, sometimes I'll do interviews. That's something that can change up the format. So different short form bonus episodes if you want to just add to frequency. You might want to consider adding solo episodes if you do interview only. Like I said, I do vice versa. Sometimes I bring in interviews. You can repurpose. Talked about Cap Show a minute ago. Cap Show would help you do that. Turn each episode into multiple pieces, reels, blog posts, quotes, emails. Do a little more social media 3 to 5 times a week, maybe. Or if you're doing 3 to 5 times a week, do it daily. If you're doing daily, do it 2 times a day. What does better mean? More valuable, higher quality, more polished. Something you can do to make your podcast better is you can upgrade your audio quality. I've already talked about this. The difference between a $50 mic and a $500 mic, not much. But if you're in a noisy space, if you're in a boomy room, if you've got reverb, if you've got echo, if you've got something like that, walk into a closet, record in a closet. Not necessarily like the tricked out closet that I'm in right now. A bunch of Rockwool sound panels. Maybe it's just clothing. That's going to sound better than an office. Try it. Take your laptop in there and try it. You will be amazed at the sound absorption of hanging clothes. But if you don't have a good mic, do invest in one. Learn some basic sound treatment, basic sound editing. Clean up your filler words, awkward pauses. I've talked how Riverside can do that automatically. Just do it a little bit better, man. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can keep it real. But if you're like, if you're stretching out something into 5 or 6 minutes and you can cut it down into 3, 4 minutes, do it. You're saving every listener a big chunk of time. You might want to tighten your format. Make every minute earn its keep. Dave Jackson has said this, and I agree with it. He said, a podcast interview is a conversation with the boring parts cut out. Ask yourself, does this really need to be in here? Is this moving this episode forward? My format, start strong with a hook, tease what's coming, end with a call to action. At the beginning of this episode, I talked about getting new listeners. That's the hook. We get into it. At the end, you're going to hear a call to action. 1 click is all it takes to subscribe. iPhone, Android, RSS feed, 1 click. You'll get every episode delivered from the Big Podcast Supercomputer to your machine of choice. If you've listened to the end, which some people don't, you're going to hear something like that. Do it today. Listen to the call to action. You're going to prep better guests or topics. Research a guest more deeply. Do the pre-interviews. Ask what others haven't. That doesn't mean get off topic. Tell me a story you've never told before. No, just because somebody's never told it before doesn't mean it's interesting. But go deep and maybe try to tell a story that they have told before from a different angle, different perspective. That can help. Great episodes don't come from winging it. You might have moments. I just had a Friday the 13th thing. I was on live radio. The guest dropped twice. At the beginning of the episode, we talked about having a Friday the 13th episode. We hope we'll get through it. We were joking around. At the end, there's a guest. She dropped twice, had to get her back on. It became a moment. It was a callback to the beginning. That was good radio. But to get to that level of being able to wing it, being able to make that a moment instead of completely freaking out, oh, lost the gas, stand by, go to dead air. That's practice. Don't count on being able to wing it. That comes from being prepared. That comes from going through the motions. You ever seen people practice dialing 911? They tell you to do that. Well, don't actually send it, but think in your head what you're going to do in an emergency. That's because when you have an emergency, something like a guest drops, something bad happens, an accident, you start freaking out. I watched a dude one time in front of me have a seizure. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. It's a crowd around him. Fortunately, a nurse who'd been through that process before, she stepped up, she helped the guy. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, I'm telling you it was a seizure now, but I didn't know what was going on at the time. I was like, Visualize that stuff ahead of time if you can. That way you know it when it happens. New. So we talked about more, talked about better. Let's talk about new. Something different. That could be format, focus, voice, structure, or style. New, when it comes to Entrepreneur on Fire, New was a daily podcast for independent podcasters. New was a format that was the exact same, the same 12 questions every single episode. There was a novelty to it. Did it get old? Yeah, it became old real quick. But at the time, it was new, and that was enough to get people talking about it. So a fresh angle, you can combine niches. More or less, this podcast is a marketing podcast, but I'm talking about how to market via audio. That's a combo. You got how to run a business for Christian business owners. I was talking about dog grooming earlier, how to cut human hair with a dog grooming kit. Speaking of working on a budget, hey man, use what you got. What you want to try to do is break the mold. Not sure about something, maybe a season. A limited run of episodes just for that month, or just for the holidays, or just for the new year. Those are great because you can have this narrative arc or theme. Say you've got a fitness podcast. 30 days in January, we're going to hit it. Boom, once a day. January 31st comes around, that's your last episode. Take a break, go back to weekly. Limited editions are great for podcasts, not just for you. For example, with that daily podcast, they don't have to commit to every single day for life. It's just every single day for 30 days, 31 days, 28 days, however long you do it. Maybe it's 2 weeks. Maybe it's a week. Limited editions are great for podcasting. You can change how you show up. Don't keep it so tightly buttoned up. More personal stories, humor, vulnerability. Something that's not typical for your niche. A word about vulnerability, by the way. Make sure you do not get into what I call failure porn, where you're more interested in the failure than what came after it, or where the failure is more interesting because it's engaging to people. Ooh, man, he failed, and they can hate listen to you and talk about your lowest points rather than when you got out of it. You'll sometimes see this on recovery podcasts, AA, NA, any of the 12-step stuff. And that's an important part of somebody's story. It's like the testimony in church. What brought you to Jesus? What happened after you got saved? But they're talking about, oh, I was living such a bad lifestyle. I was into drinking. I was into drugs. I was cheating on my wife. I was shooting up dope. They're more into that than what happened afterwards, getting sober, finding Jesus, whatever the outcome is. Watch it. It's easy to get sucked into that because that attracts an audience. People love the dirt. And maybe it's not quite a hate listen, but it could be. We got to keep this in mind. Most people are there because they want to listen to you. Some people, kind of the flip side of that, yeah, they want to listen to you, but it's different reasons. It's to find the dirt. Be aware of it. All this stuff, by the way, you can test it. If it doesn't work, test it. The best stuff comes from happy accidents. So if you've got a creative intro, a segment, recurring series, test it. If it doesn't work, test something else. Go back to what you were doing. Final thought on this, more, better, new. I don't like to play the chart game. I've talked about my friend who was a songwriter. I got sick of living and dying by the charts. And you certainly see this with guys on YouTube, social media, working that algorithm. With that said, you can leverage what's trending. You can tie episodes into current events or pop culture, viral topics, put your own spin on it. There are things like that you can incorporate in existing conversation, add your thoughts to it, get the thoughts of your listeners, and then move on from. It's not you living and dying by the charts. It's you working in an existing conversation. So if you're going to go that direction, I'd suggest you look at it that way. What is an existing conversation that I can enter and add something to? Not just going to it because it's hot. That's living and dying by the charts. Living and dying by the charts, I'll give you a music business example of that. You've got a heavy metal band, heavy metal, passé. Nobody cares or nobody seems to care anymore. Country's hot, you turn that heavy metal band into country. That's living and dying by the charts. Don't get into that. People find out you were a heavy metal band before you were a country band, you lose all credibility with them. And you're going to lose credibility with your previous audience that love you for metal too. Oh, sell out, sell out. Be aware of that with your podcasting. More, better, and new. I would love to hear your thoughts and what you are doing with these things, more, better, or new. You can reach out to me via Blue Sky. I've got the link to do that. Newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 237. That is it. Another episode of Build a Big Podcast. Thanks for being with me. You want to work with me one-on-one? Really dive deep into this, growing your audience, getting more people to your podcast, making more money with your podcast. This is the best way to do it. I call it Big Podcast AMP. AMP stands for Audio Monetization Program. You can find more information at bigpodcast.com/AMP, bigpodcast.com/AMP. Thanks for listening to Build a Big Podcast. If you want to subscribe, you do, right? Yeah. I'm here all the time, at least once a week, talking about growing your podcast, getting more people to your podcast, making money with your podcast, making your mother proud. I can't believe it. My son or my daughter is a podcaster. And sharing it at the old folks home. You want that? Yeah, you do. So do this because I can help you make that happen. Subscribe to Build a Big Podcast. You can make that happen by going to bigpodcast.com. I've got 3 links for you, one for iPhone, one for Android. One is an RSS feed. It's that call to action I talked about. That's right. From the Big Podcast Supercomputer to however you get your podcast, it's free, it's weekly, and you can unsubscribe anytime. Bigpodcast.com, that lets you do it. Thanks for listening to this episode of Build a Big Podcast. Go to bigpodcast.com right now and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.